this is Mrs. Wiegers. Welcome to my kitchen. Today we're going to be doing a STEM activity called Rainbow Jar. I got this activity from a website called Play-Doh to Play-Doh. I have a link down in the description if you want to see more information about this activity. Now this activity is going to focus on a concept called density. Everybody say density with me. Okay. Density is basically the concept of how much stuff is compounded or put in together. For example, I have two containers here that are the same size. In one container, I have one rock. In the other container, I have about 6-7 rocks. Okay? So we still have the same amount of volume, but we have one rock versus more rocks. Which one do you think is going to weigh more? Think about that. One rock or lots of rocks? So to help us determine which one, I'm going to bring up my fancy scale here, otherwise known as a toilet paper holder. I'm going to make them equal heights, and then I'm going to let go, and let's see which one is going to weigh more. You can see that the one with more rocks definitely went down a lot faster and pulled up the one rock container with it. So we say that this container is more dense. It has more density, it has more bits in the same amount of volume. Let's look at it a little bit different way. And here, I have a container of water. In my container of water, I'm going to put a little boat that I made out of aluminum foil. So you can see when I put it in, the boat floats. Let's add some weight to it. I have a little rock right here, and it's still holding the weight. The weight is getting spread out throughout the whole volume because you know if I put the rock in, the rock's going to sink automatically. So by putting in that boat, it spreads out the weight and makes it less dense. That's why you can see these huge cargo ships that carry all these containers that on their own the containers will sink, but on the boat still stays afloat because it's spreading it all out, making it less dense on the water. Now if I were to take the same amount of weight and make it into a smaller volume, scrunch it up, if I were to drop it in the water, you can see it goes straight down to the bottom. So now it has become more dense just by putting the same weight in a smaller volume. So now it's time for our rainbow jar part. So what you're going to need is, to begin with, a glass container or something see-through so we can actually see our rainbow that's going to be going on in here. Now, our rainbow colors may not exactly be in order, but that's okay, it's just the general idea. Now, you can use as many of these items as you have. If you're missing some, that's okay, it will still work. Or if you want to try some other ones, we'll talk about that at the end here too. So the first thing we're going to use is honey. Then I have some light corn syrup, some dish soap, regular old water, olive oil, and rubbing alcohol. And these are all just things I had around the house. To make our rainbow, we're also going to need some food coloring. Again, if you don't have food coloring, it still works. The food coloring just makes it a little bit easier to see all of our layers that we're going to be making. I also have some cups to mix in the food coloring, as well as a fork to help mix them in, and a little dropper to help with our last one, which I'll talk about when we get there. Okay, so let me get some of these out of the way. And let's just start. All right. So now how much you put in is going to depend on the volume or how much your glass or mason jar or plastic cup, whatever you have, can hold. You don't want to fill up the honey up with here, especially if your parents want to use that for something later on. Okay? So I'm going to start with the honey. We're not going to color this one because it's so thick. Because it's so thick, that's going to make it more dense. That's where we're going to put it down first on the bottom. So if I put it nicely, now try and get it right down the middle because if you get it in the sides, it's going to interfere with some of our other ones. So let's see, you can start to see, you can see how it just drips slowly from our bear here. See, I got about I hit the side. About 1/4 to 1/2 inch in here. That should be plenty. Okay, next one is going to be our light corn syrup. So this one I'm going to get a little plastic or paper cup so I can mix in the color. And since it's going to be on the bottom, why don't we make this a purple? So while you're thinking about it, I don't have purple food coloring. Can you think of any ways I can make purple with what I have? What colors make purple? Ooh, there we go. Again, this is when it's good to have some parents with you. Okay, did you know how to make purple? Okay, I have a red and a blue. Let's see if those two make purple. So put a couple of drops of each. A little bit goes a long way. You don't need to put a ton in. Here's the blue. Okay, I'm going to grab my fork to kind of mix them in here a little bit. Oh yeah, that's still nice and thick. Oh, it's a dark purple, but it is a purple. And maybe add a little bit more corn syrup in there. That'll help lighten it up a little bit. Oh, look at all that. All right, now let's see if I can pour this down the middle without getting too much on the sides. Here comes my dark purple corn syrup. Light corn syrup. So you can see it should be sitting still on the top of the honey because the honey should be more dense. It may actually be going the other way. This is the first time I've tried this experiment, so results may vary. I've also had this corn syrup for quite a while, so I'm not sure if that makes a difference. I don't know. That'd be another experiment. All right, so now I don't know if you can see my purple is sitting on top of my honey, but it is kind of sagging there in the middle. So they may have close to the same density there. All right, let's move on to our dish soap. Now my dish soap is green, so that's already going to put our colors out of order. If you have blue dish soap, then you should be fine. So we don't have to color this one. Just going to again pour it right down the middle, and now so you can see. You guys couldn't see it, but I got a hole in the middle from the force of the dish soap falling down, but it still corrected itself. So let's see, can we see the green on the top? Oh, we're getting all kinds of colors in here now, aren't we? Okay. So that was honey, light corn soap, dish soap. Our next one is going to be regular water. So in our regular water, we're going to do blue, still kind of staying with those cool colors. Again, just 1 or 2 drops is all we need. It's kind of fun just to watch the food color go around, but we've got to move on. So again, I'm going to stir that up a little bit. There's a nice blue. And again, trying to pour as much as we can down the middle. So it's nice to have something with like a little spout on it. Okay, give it a moment to settle. Okay, how are we doing? Do we still have our layers? They're kind of mixing up a little bit, but you can kind of see how the bubbles are rising up because, again, they're less dense. That's why bubbles always rise, because it has so much air in them. Okay. So after our water, we're going to do the olive oil. You could do the olive oil in, let's do yellow. Mine already is kind of a yellow. We can make it a little bit more yellow. Let's pour some in there. Drops. That's already pretty good in yellow. Now this is a lighter color, so I may use something else to stir. Luckily I have my drawer right here. My food coloring isn't even mixing in with the oil because it's probably more water-based. So this is going to look a little weird when we pour it in. All right, here we go. Here comes our olive oil. Oh, so you kind of swirl things around, but let's see. Hopefully it should equal itself out a little bit. Oh, my colors are dripping down. I don't know if you can see that. We can see, yep, see it's more yellow up on the top there, so it still evens itself out even when it gets mixed up a little bit. Okay, so that leaves our rubbing alcohol. So let's make this red to be the first color in our rainbow. Since it's hot, oops, I spilled. So we always make sure we clean up when we're done, right? Okay, so let's do our red. Oh, when you pour this in, the food color dye is more dense, so it falls right down to the bottom. Oh, we could use the same one that we did last time, the yellow. Where are we? There we go. Okay. Now this one, you may want to use the eyedropper, but it may interfere a little bit too much. So try and pour it as much as you can on the edge of your cup, which so you may want a little help with that one, because that won't make it not disturb the rest of your cup as much. The website also suggested maybe put a nice thick layer of olive oil on before you do the rubbing alcohol. Okay, so there it is. There is our rainbow in a jar. And again, this is all dealing with density. So we had the honey down at the bottom, which was the most dense. It's the thicker, it has the most stuff in it. And then we go to our light corn syrup, our dish soap, water, you can kind of see a thin layer in there, our olive oil, and then on top is our rubbing alcohol. So what other liquids do you think you could try and put in here, and where do you think they would end up? Which liquids are more dense and which liquids are less dense, have more density and less density? Feel free to leave any comments down in the bottom. Thank you and have a good day.